top esports, yeah, only 3 games, but you know, especially Viper, who's pulled it out already, even once in playoffs. It's a good point, Lyric, because now we have the Aphelios coming in. We haven't seen that today either, with the fact that Viper even has a world skin on it. So we get something different from top esports, but now I'm kind of curious as to what gets into the partnership with it, with Renata and Yuumi already being banned away.
You have something like the Trundle available. I think now that the enemy's already showing Tahm Kench, it could dissuade you from wanting to go from like a single target lockdown-esque jungler like the Vi that we hit on earlier. I'm curious to see once we go back to TES side if they go towards like Senna, or if we get maybe something old school, more traditional like the Jinx coming through. But there's the Trundle now for EDG. You'd expect getting to look at their support options. If you want something more like aggressive in terms of the 2v2, you always could go towards the Lulu, something we've seen pair with the Aphelios before. Sure. Or the Braum would also be like a more passive lane that could potentially set you up better for team fights.
But Lyric, what's curious to me is the fact that this Trundle hasn't been open in all 4 games of this series so far. It has been a constant first side ban, or rather first 3 rotation ban. So for JJ getting this champion, already a big boon, with top esports looking for a response. JackeyLove's AD carry pool. Lucian down, Zeri down, Lyric, like, Jinx is there, but maybe going for the Senna?
I was going to say, it's Senna or Jinx, I feel like, what has to come out. They also did highlight the VODS, which we have seen, I think it was back in the regular season, we've seen it a few times, but they do opt into the Senna. So both teams so far, Game 5, and it is Scaling City coming through. TES already setting up with some like good peel to be able to come through from things like the Wild Growth and the Trundle Pillar to try and buy space for Viper in these team fights. And it's kind of funny, after such a stellar performance from JackeyLove, like sure, later on JackeyLove will be a huge threat depending on how many of those souls he's able to get in his pocket. But setting up for maybe a stronger top side to be able to come out early. And my God, these bans are coming through quickly.
Oh, they are. They want to get through it, right? It's a Game 5, and further to your point, the fact that JackeyLove's not going to be an early game focus is such a different direction. And so if they're looking towards the top side, Lyric, the Ornn band away here, the Fiora by EDG, it looks like they are targeting Wayward and Knight with these final ones. I'm curious to see who they leave counterpick for.
Me too, because we do still have like so many of those big mid lane picks left open, but you always could opt into something, you know, safe. Gwen still being available, Gnar, and again, try and set up your top side for success. I think bringing something that does have more capabilities in terms of like damage and what it's able to do, whether it's a Gwen with the sustain it brings and Senna kind of enabling that, or if they even went a different route in Wayward, went on to more of a carry pick, would be pretty interesting, but doesn't seem like the plan.
Again, Gnar, one of his most played, and he's going to finish the series off with that. So, Lyric, we have quite a bit of engage, but we have Knight for the counter pick in the Game 5 that matters most. For EDG now, Scout has to show his cards. Flandre has to show his cards. What's it going to be when you don't have your Azir available?
That is a great question, right? Because typically it has been things like the Lissandra prio being so incredibly high. You always could look towards it, but I feel like EDG's comp, a lot more setting up, not necessarily to have to run into what top esports are doing, providing even Kennen, a champion who we know loves to go in, can come in from things like flanks, but also when you're up against a composition that runs in, just as great at opening the Slicing Maelstrom. But with the lack of agency on the rest of the map, seems like this is where Scout's angling towards. Okay,
the Lissandra again, Game 1. This is what blew the series wide open. This is what made EDG look one-sided. Our world champs returning on it, with Flandre back on the Kennen too. It looks pretty promising here for EDG when we talk about their team fight, but Lyric, Knight's counter pick. That's what we're waiting for. Knight, it's Game 5. Give us something. The Taliyah here, Lyric, and he's going to try and get around early.
So going to be able to bring some damage, right? Taliyah, ever since the pseudo rework comes in, is a champion who brings a great deal of damage in the late game. Is going to do fine in terms of just clearing out those waves early on in mid to be able to match Scout. And then we kind of highlighted a lot of it. I think a lot of it can be centered around the Wukong this game in terms of what Tian is able to do in the early game. And the man didn't pick up an MVP for no reason. For EDG, I feel like you're much more comfortable, especially with the bottom lane that you have. But you also still have that same ability to move coming out from Scout. JJ, go mid, put a Trundle right behind the Taliyah. The threat of the Claw coming out from Scout can now force a flash from Knight. Like, definitely options coming out on both sides. And for TS, I feel like it's more about when the Weaver's Wall comes online.
Okay, well, Knight's ulti then, because the fact that it is on him, like, we've been talking a lot about JackeyLove Mark versus Viper Meiko, the 2v2, and especially the AD carries being gods in the LPL, the 2 best AD carries in the LPL, and some of the best in the world. I'm not going to make a blanket statement here, Lyric, because I know I just want to see them on the world stage to see how they go up against others. But we know in the LPL, this is our top tier talent. Viper with an edge here going up against a Senna, but we know that this game could come down to Knight versus Scout as well. We know that in a Game 5, Top Esports can qualify for Worlds with a win. EDG can lock in semifinals and bump their Worlds position and chances up a hell of a lot too. And make everyone remember the name of EDG from 2021. Make everyone fear the fact that EDG are looking like they're returning to Worlds. That's what happens with a win here. They're not eliminated with a loss. They go to the lower bracket, but staying up top, going to semis straight away, that would define your split and your year that you've worked so hard for. And in Game 5, it's one error, one game, one moment, one mistake, and one piece of success, as Summoner's Rift has never looked so gorgeous to round out this series of our double Elite.
And looking at these AD carries, right? Viper coming in on the Aphelios. Really the big damage dealer on his team. Like, Flandre going to be able to have huge impact with the Slicing Maelstrom, but once we get into the weeds of these extended fights, it's going to be up to Viper. Same could be said about JackeyLove, but also taking more of a backseat supportive role until he really gets a lot of those souls under his belt.
Yep.
So Knight, I think, going to take more of a prominent role in this game. We kind of already highlighted for the side of EDG. I think you do have lots of setup there for some of these ganks to come through. Just Scout being able to bring that CC, what the pillar can do in terms against immobile champions, enforcing some of these flashes out early on. TS do also have, like, decent setup. They have a Wukong, but I think a lot more comes on when you hit that 6 mark, because you have double global coming through, right? You have global on JackeyLove, global on Knight.
True.
So you could really do a lot to reinforce both lanes, or if they even wanted to look towards top and punish the Kennen when Wayward has those Mega Gnar windows.
We have a jungle invade, though, or at least a rather JJ getting spotted out, setting up for an invade as he tries to go to the other side of the map. Tian is in his top side right now, and JJ is going deep towards blue. As he goes towards these bottom side camps, Tian doesn't look like he's doing any cross-mapping himself, or rather, matching JJ Lyric, as I can finally speak my words. Blue buff on this side, and I think Tian's just going to be going to the enemy blue too.
With the fact that they spotted him out, they know what they're able to do. Just wanting to get a ward here, not really having the ability to stop him, especially since Viper and Meiko already pushed the wave and started to roam. So I think good call by TES. Just get the ward down, see what JJ's plan is, while sticking around in lane. And JJ is coming to take everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And as you said, spotted out though, so Tian's already taken everything by himself too. And Lyric, while this cross-mapping goes on, before anything happens, I need to ask you quickly, I'm looking at EDG, I'm also noticing late-game setup, team fighting there as well. It does feel like the top esports, you know, we talked a little bit about their late-game elements, but Aphelios Lulu with the AoE, it's EDG's wheelhouse in a team fight.
I mean, I think both teams, right? It's gonna come down to so many factors. Like, we're gonna see if EDG, I mean, can they find the ability to get those same angles that Scout had earlier on? Slicing Maelstrom, how many targets does it hit? Wayward, I mean, he can influence with the Gnar ulti. So we're gonna have to get through this early game first, which, like we said, kind of leaning into what EDG do bring. We can see both bot and top already in winning positions. Sure. And if they can bring this into a strong mid game and make it hard for top esports to enter spaces, then you're already going to be set up where you have control of vision. Scout has the angles to be able to find those same entry points as he did earlier on.
And in the series, it makes sense when we're talking about the lanes, because both EDG and Top Esports are great laning teams. We talked about the CSDs for Top Esports. We talked about EDG usually coming out of a lane with a lead as well. It's been such a good game watching the transitions here, as in game number 5, as you said, already looking at some of the leads in the bottom side with a push up here against the Senna Tahm, Viper and Meiko looking for early access to the plates, and we're only 4 minutes in, but that first plate's almost halfway down.
You know what's kind of funny is you talking about this, like, strong laning, win lane styles. Again, I remember asking, like, friends I have on other teams' coaching staffs last year, what they thought of EDG, and they'd say, like, oh, just win lane, win game. And I'd ask, like, hey, isn't that kind of disrespectful? That's all I do? He's like, no, they always win lane. So, you know.
Speaking of winning lane, hey, yeah, Flandre flashed away. Tian was spotted out on the ward, and Wayward just jumps him. A good timing of summoners there, Lyric, and Tian might be back for another visit.
Great job by TS to find this avenue. and just, right, these small differences able to come out. Like, sure, EDG have the pushes in these lanes, but that sets up the ganks to be able to come out from the side of TES. They also have mid lane prio to be able to play through, and Knight and Scout both incredibly close to that level 6 point, and we know, especially for the Taliyah, that's when a lot more access starts to come through on the map.
Speaking of level 6, though, we might see Scout pick it up first because he has teleport in this lane. Lyric going to be using it now. Knight has taken Cleanse here. Unsealed Spellbook, but Cleanse for now as he has to roll back to lane himself. So kind of curious to watch Scout and if he can get that advantage and move across the map as we saw in game number 1. Because Lyric, we have to reminisce. This Lissandra pick in game 1 pretty much won it for them with the early kill bot.
Oh, 100%. If you miss game 1, Scout was so phenomenal, finding, you know, multi-man stuns coming out from his W, locking them down, setting up with his ulti onto key targets. And this time around, he set up for the same. And you could see for EDG now, some pings coming out around the mid lane. This is why I think Knight opted into Cleanse early, because he knows the pillar into the Scout engage play is going to come through.
As the Cleanse comes through, the pillar in the nick of time. If Knight didn't flash away, Lyric, he was dead.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the strength of this pairing specifically, right? Very easy to be able to set that up. It buys time for Scout to be able to go in, lock him down. So Knight having to burn both the Cleanse and the Flash. Now we're going to be looking at another potential repeat play able to come through, but this time around for the side of EDG. Yeah,
okay, so Flandre summoner's down, Knight summoner's down. Let's see who responds fastest as his ulti is now available, Lyric, so might still be able to move. As I'm watching Tian to see what his response play is. Looks like he was spotted on a ward in Pixel Brush for the time being.
Yeah, and the ping's coming down now for the side of TS, not wanting to allow that opening for Tian to make moves down towards the bot lane.
And lock down the jungler. Pillar's good, but for Tian, he's level 4 versus level 5. Flash on in. First blood to Scout's Lissandra yet again.
Great start coming out from EDG. Knight doing his best with the seismic shove to not allow JJ to enter, but manages to get through. He had his flash available, so always knowing he could close that gap. And EDG so far doing a great job of using the tools that they have coming out from this mid-jungle.
Such a good start. There's already a Fiendish Codex here on the Lissandra as we look at the replay, Lyric, and Chedge has been so aggressive so far on this Trundle.
Yeah, you can see Tian wanting to clear out that ward. I think he was trying to angle down towards spot. Knows he can't be able to do it, and then Scout sees the opening, goes in, locks him down with the ulti, and Seismic Shove, Knight did his best, but Flash is there for Jejen. We know Tian is slowed, and it was very easy for them to be able to finish off that kill.
Early gold lead here for EDG. We talked a lot about them being able to snowball a little bit and then move into the mid-game, Lyric, and I think this is a nice start when we haven't even seen the roaming from the mid laners and moving across the map to influence the sides that we talked about heavily with Knight and Scout in this game 5.
I mean, this is where we're going to have to keep our eyes on that, right? Especially for Knight with where he wants to use that Weaver's Wall first. I think it'd be pretty nice to wait for the Cyclone to be able to come online for Tian, but looks like the engage is coming through and Knight's leaning over.
And Viper's by himself. There's no level 6 on the Lulu. The 2v2 from JackeyLove and Mark. It's a Senna Tahm, but Mark just goes in. And this quadruple summoner, Lyric, from that 2v2 play.
Just great overall from TS. And remember, ever since Tahm Kench got changed and his ulti and his W got swapped around, now you do somewhat function as a champion with that all-in throw, just being able to look for the dive, which, speaking of, Tian now has Cyclone.
Just got 6, literally off the end of the wave. Scout not going to be engaged on those, so for top esports it doesn't matter too much. As Herald starts, it's on a ward, Lyric, but for the time being, you can see top esports are pinging bot lane. Instead, just maybe want to make the gold trade as Flandre ultis in the top side onto Wayward, who's about to go to Gnar, but Flandre just with the slicing maelstrom to threaten out means the top side is under EDG's wing.
Exactly. I think he goes for that play just to make sure no shenanigans can come through. I don't think they spotted out that Tian was towards that bottom side. Just wanting to make sure they can't look for a play here and completely committing up towards his top side now that they have the Herald.
Meiko slowing him down as well. Wayward just has to walk out and respect the trade. You look at bot, it's only one plate. Lyric, it's still a Senna Tahm. So this is just going to be first turret blood.
Yeah, because, right, you have the Aphelios, they have Senna. You're pushing power so much faster, especially with the fact that they have the Crescendum online. We come back to top side, and that is actually now finally gone. But they've gotten enough work done to where they can drop the Herald and just get this first turret, committing Scout down to that bot lane to answer a wave. Tian, for his troubles, will pick up a Drake, so you're at least getting an advantage working towards that late game goal. But EDG with the more immediate power, and we hit on it earlier, right? If EDG start finding that lead, they're the ones who are going to be able to threaten control over a space. Like, if they make their way towards mid and get into river, I mean, TS will just have to back off, allow that control over. The vision comes out. This now sets up for those flanks to be able to come in from Scout and Flandre.
At least for top esports, getting the first dragon might throw some merit later on, but after that play in the top side, Viper was able to get Berserker Greaves, life still there, pickaxe as well, Lyric. This is going to be a first item pretty soon. And so Viper on his Aphelios in Game 5. He's got a world skin on this, by the way. I'm not even sure if he's using it, but it might not be important in the moment as EDG try to make a response play.
Oh yeah, Meiko. So they have an idea of what's going on, but Tian waiting in the wings. Also, we can do a soul update now while it is on Senna. 38 souls as of 10 minutes. Gotta definitely keep tracking that one and, you know, see how big he gets, especially in regards to things like the bonus range able to come through. But for now, top esports bot lane will be just fine. And funnily enough, you know, earlier we had all those summoners going across from both sides. None of it was punished. Flandre and Knight both able to work their way back up to having those flash and having those same safety tools that they can now rely on.
While we bring up Knight's name again, I just want to see this Weaver's Wall in action, Lyric. He's hovered a little bit, but hasn't pulled the trigger. This could be the moment here where top esports try and find the fight. Knight now moving into brush, not spotted out.
Looks like they have a bit of a window, too, because midwave still hasn't even hit yet. They're going for it.
But they're on the wrong side of the wall, so Knight's first one is no bueno. It's like Aphelios, it's like, Nocturne, Twisted Fate, Lyric. First couple of ones are important, and that time, Knight has shown that he's not going to get too much done. 2v2, though, in the mid lane, could be brewing up. Knight walking into Fog of War, but Scout's already out.
And for Knight, I mean, this is Game 5. This is when, if you are a star player, you need to show up and you need to take control. We've seen it in an LPL Finals before. Thinking back to 2020, that Game 5 Syndra was just so huge from him and what he was able to do. But then you think to Worlds that same year, and not necessarily bad performance, right? But not able to step up, take over games. I know the meta was a little bit wishy-washy for mids at that Worlds, but still, like Game 5s and playoffs and big matches are where legends are made, or where your name, you know, can be known.
I feel like for top esports, they need a better run at Worlds, right? They need another chance. If they can win this Game 5, they will return to the world stage. The fact that Knight would get another chance after all these years in the LPL would be massive, but EDG standing in your way when they just won the last World Championship is such a hard task. And as we've seen, EDG have started off this Game 5 early game quite well. As even tracking Tian well is something we could say. He's on a ward right now, Lyric, as top esports push in the bottom side. They know he backed, and EDG are just beelining to the bottom lane now too.
How scuffed is that? That, like, to make your run to Worlds, you have to beat, like, the most current MSI winner, the most current Worlds winner,
who
things like this.
Are in form, like somewhere, when they weren't even in the regular season this good.
Yeah, I guess RNG were the opposite though, right? Most recent MSI champion weren't in form, or at least weren't able to show up against what EDG brought out yesterday. I don't want to take anything away from EDG because they just completely slaughtered RNG and made it look so easy the other day.
True.
And coming into this game, already finding themselves a nice start, about a 1.5k gold lead. We see all of their lanes doing well. Of course, they're going to win in bot, right, when you're going up against Senna Tahm, and Tahm's the one farming. Top side, they're behind slightly, but Flandre has really been the one absorbing pressure.
Lyric, that's Blade of the Ruined King on Viper. First item here for Aphelios. I mean, Gale Force is always the takeaway. This is just a different angle.
Yeah, this is quite, like, I know I was talking to Dagda the other day, and I guess buying Blade of the Ruined King first is one of the, like, known bugs in the game, where I think buying it later has less damage that comes out or something along those lines, but still quite, like, pretty weird to see it come out first item.
A different angle here, but hey, at the very least, while we're talking about first items, look across the board, Lyric. There are 4 fully completed items on EDG. Only 2 here for top esports, with one being an Umbral Glaive, so a bit of a power advantage 30 seconds before this next strike.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if why he's gone towards it, because can't really see the logic there. Is EDG are going to try and get control over this bottom side. Dragon spawning in 20 seconds, maybe even able to find a play in bot lane.
They're trying to poke them down first. Top esports using JackeyLove as Viper just stepping up to mark. This is good damage. Blade of the Ruined King getting effect, but over the wall, Scout comes on in. Locks down JackeyLove. EDG, though, can't finish the job. The counter punches. JackeyLove ults the wrong way in a Game 5. Wayward cleans it up, but now are they going to be punished? Flandre, his ult is bigger, and EDG step on up. JackeyLove, why? Our god tier 80 carry, Lyric, ulted the wrong way.
But EDG were able to take advantage. Heck, we didn't even need an ult to come out from Viper, and now going to be able to turn to the Drake, amassing themselves out pretty much a 3K gold lead. EDG in such a comfortable position in this early game.
Oh, man. EDG coming in clutch. Lyric, hard to overlook it, but we'll look at the replay and I'll let you break this down because this was a close fight, never, to say the least.
EDG committing more members first, right? Knight's still in the mid lane, so they're just trying to brute force their way in. Since it's a preset play, they're able to get their TP in first as well. And Mark saving JackeyLove. But there it is, the ult going backwards. Sadly, Tian also forced out. And by the time Wayward gets in, not too much able to be done. Kind of just staggering in one by one, allowing for the initial core 3 to get health bars low. And then once Flandre gets in, it's like, okay, slicing Maelstrom, numerous targets already at 20% HP, and then the other members getting split up and rushed down. When you're the team that sets up a play, right, it allows you to be able to bring TPs in first, to rotate members down first, where you saw for top esports there, Wayward TPing in a little bit later, and then Knight ulting in way, way later to be able to get involved in the skirmish. So overall, nice foresight by EDG to force the play, which gave them the advantage.
I mean, massive one for Flandre. This is a 2-in-1 Kennen Lyric, and you talk so much about this composition transitioning into the mid game if they had a lead. Well, they've got one, and it's solid here with almost 3,000 in their back pocket. You even look at top lane in a turret. Flandre was just about to solo that as Wayward got a trade on the bottom side, but EDG in a comfortable position in this game 5, and with Herald going down mid lane as well, Lyric, it looks like EDG aren't done yet.
No, gonna look to keep going, but at least gonna be forced away for now. The charge will still come through, but I feel like they've accomplished their goal. They were able to drop the Herald. They got waves pushed up in top side. They even got some beat vision down in the top jungle from TES. So gonna have information on where they are and potentially look for more opportunities to go in, because you can see now, staying as this 4-man squad, you have Scout down in bot lane. Scout has TP advantage, so Wayward feeling really threatened. You can see him going back and forth in the bot side jungle. Do I stay bot, or do I go cover my team up in top side?
And look how scattered they are in total. I mean, Tian now by himself. Good blast code usage on the Junjia. Kind of saves his life if Junjia wanted to make the turn. But now Knight is going to be moving up to the top side and has to be careful in melee range too. Tian just waiting this one out, Lyric, as he clears away yet another camp, takes away more gold from top esports, whose backs are closer to the wall here in this final game. And Lyric, I have to elaborate just a little bit here as we look towards mid lane and look towards a potential 3v2 with the TP coming in. EDG going to force this one out. Scout with the Glacial Path, lock it in. JackeyLove, he gets Mark instead. The root down, the pillar as well. Mark is hit hard, and Viper with his second kill. EDG are bringing the pace in this final game.
And sadly, in the last game where TES can get that world spot, everything is just falling around them. EDG performing great, keeping up this pressure in topside. They had the TP that we talked about, bring Scout up, and now funneling these waves, and it's going to be another turret over to EDG.
That's so much gold. The inner turret, the value for Flandre, he's going to take that himself, Lyric. 600 gold, 50 for the rest. 2-item Kennen on the horizon. As you said, for top esports, they're now 5,000 gold down. It's gone from bad to worse in the final hour for this team.
Yeah, sadly for JackeyLove and Mark, they come through. You don't see the focus go on to JackeyLove. They do just want to take out the Tahm Kench from the get-go. And I mean, still even able to get a good amount of damage on JackeyLove to where he has to back off. No really kind of posturing or repoke able to come through. But now top esports going to find a pick.
And there's Weaver's Wall. Now EDG have to burn the flash on the jungler in the enemy territory. It's not over yet. Top esports burning 2 ults, but force Junjia out to get a little bit something back.
Finally seeing, you know, the Weaver's Wall come into effect and get a bit of an advantage for TES. They're able to use this to lean up and guarantee that Wayward gets his turret on top side. But in response, look at Scout. Scout's hitting bot lane turret as well. You can see the EDG bot duo hovering over, probably taking Scuttle Crab to guarantee some safety.
True. So, always a response from EDG. And look, Lyric, I had to come back. I wanted to clarify. I feel like it's the same with the bug on Ashe at the moment. You put your mouse on the mini-map, and like JackeyLove's ult there we saw before, it's still haunting me, Lyric. As a support AD player, it haunts the hell out of me. And I kind of feel for JackeyLove at this point. It feels like that bottom side fight, whether ult reliant or not, it turned the tides of not only this game, but of course this series. Now for top esports, channeling towards this dragon in 20 seconds, Lyric. Can they pull this one off? Are they strong enough at this point to fight a 2-item Aphelios and an EDG that are just taking over the map? Oh,
I think it's
onto
going to be
JJ.
hard.
Might be a pick. Might be a pick, right? But Viper now is a two-man grabbing him onto Mark. He absorbs the damage. He's got his Iceborne as Tian hovers on the wing, but EDG survived that, and they burn down top esports a little.
And they're trying to control vision. Flandre putting up pressure on top side now, and EDG don't have any really great flank wards able to come in so far. Putting all their wards down, top esports are spotting this vision coming through, so we just have to come in straight into River and try and just out-muscle them, not allow them to come through.
Wayward's just evolved to Gnar as well. For EDG, this Gnar needs to be respected. The top esports not moving in for yet, playing at range, and EDG, Lyric, they're just timing his bar out.
And you can see Scout waiting on one side, Flandre trying to make his way around the other. We said for EDG, it's all about what they can use in setup in regards to getting angles for these two great backline damage threats to be able to come through. For TS, they're trying to poke them out with the Taliyah, but now without the Gnar, it feels really hard to force your way in.
JJ's getting low, but it's still a Trundle, still with Smite. Top esports move to the Dragon before it fully resets, but Flandre having the ulti. Weaver's wall's good. JJ on the wrong side of it, he gets flown into Dragon Pit. Tian with the one-man ulti, but they must kill the President, and down he goes. Or at least the VP, Lyric. Top esports with a good force, and hey, that's the best out of the situation.
I mean, EDG, they were on like 2 different pages. Most of the members actually went up to try to kill Wayward. Wayward was forced to flash away, but JJ, being locked in, staying down to try to get that dragon, not able to do so. I'm surprised that EDG were so hesitant to fight when you highlighted the item advantages. 2 items on jungle, 2 items on top, mid, AD carry, just across the board, but not willing to do so. And here's the opposite side of the fight that we just hit on, right? Trying to find a pick onto Wayward does make him use his flash, but in the end, TS getting themselves on 2 dragons.
Okay, so second dragon for top esports, but still down 3,000 gold and then some. The Weaver's wall coming in from Knight. That was clutch. That was great timing amidst all the chaos. But, Lyric, we still got to favor EDG with the item advantage they have as we look at this one again and how long it took for this play to kind of be enacted.
Yeah, EDG not feeling comfortable going through, still respecting this potential flank from the Gnar, even if he is in mini. And there we go. We see JJ getting hit over by the wall. Really nowhere to go, accepts his fate. And Dragon was going to go over to TS regardless, unless JJ could have gone with some kind of cheeky steal, but just the Weaver's Wall able to come out from Knight was the difference maker.
All right, Lyric, so how do we go from here? Dragon in 3 minutes 40. Baron's now up as well. EDG have priority on this side of the map. Got to kind of respect here the fact that Viper is quite big. There's 2 item Aphelios and then some, and then Flandre does a lot of damage too. I'm wondering how EDG play the map with all the vision that they have deep into the enemy jungle and holding this top side for now.
Let's remember that EDG still have that scaling factor as well, right? Not necessarily needing to over-aggress in the enemy jungle. They're doing a nice job keeping the vision line up, before using the fact when Scout had that TP to be able to play sides, but now probably to be a lot more about trying to group together, not allowing things to come through, to where for TS, if they can abuse the fact that Wayward has his TP and was able to run down Scout in a side lane before, that could be the opening.
Hey, he's got a wit's end, and again, Scout, he can 1v1 this. He's about to go mega, and Scout gets autoed, going golden, but Wayward emotes here, throws the Q, the flash away. Lyric, maybe he should have moved into melee range on that one, but summoner down for Scout as he runs for his life in the 1v1.
Huge coming out from Wayward. I mean, if that could have been a kill, right, that could have instantly been a pivot onto Baron because Wayward has the TP available. Still going to manage to get the flash, which could shut down an avenue of Scout's engagement. A lot of times you see the E in, but then you follow through with the flash. Tian now forced to flash himself.
Okay, it's coming down the margins. It's a game 5. You expect there to be a lot of nerves here, especially from, I was going to say Wayward, right? But you look at everyone else and you're like, these guys are veterans. Top esports and EDG is delivered as a matchup. And, in this 5th game, top esports are trying to find an edge. That pick onto JJ not going to be coming in as EDG hover over the wall. But Lyric, you said that kill on the bottom side was massive. We now know Wayward is massive in the 1v1 as Scout is getting pressured again. And there's so much pressure being added by top esports simply by this Gnar as we look at the replay.
And as long as Wayward knows he can go for duels like this, right, it's going to keep pulling one member of EDG away from the core. Just honestly running him down with auto attacks and that passive coming out from the W. But you pointed out, maybe should feel a little bit better about getting into melee range. He did spot on the mini map that all the members of EDG had walked from mid down into their bot side jungle. So playing it safe, not wanting to over-aggress and give a pick over, right? In a world where maybe the Lissandra flashes right away, enemy team is already there, they get that kill on you. I mean, that now opens up possibilities for EDG to aggress into that top side even more.
Good elaboration on the play. Yeah, Wayward playing it safe, but still getting the flash out is big against Scout. Top Esports, by the way, when they were down 4, almost 5,000 gold, have clawed back a little bit here in the mid game, getting closer towards that 3.5 markers. We're gearing for a fight in the mid lane, Lyric. It is 4th Dragon spawning up. Top Esports could get Soul Point if they get this. And we're looking at Flandre now with his angle as everyone moves towards River with 45 seconds left to go.
We've seen EDG already on the 2-item mark for quite a while, but the big difference now is TES being there.
Yep.
Stopwatches coming out across the board, so if they can survive some of the initial bursts, like the Slicing Maelstrom, or if Scout goes in with the ult, pop the stopwatch, you now come through, that same damage threat isn't there, there's definitely some hope on the side of TES to be able to make it through. But EDG, once again, are the team in control. And last time around, I feel like a lot of the hesitancy was about not being able to find those avenues for either Scout or Flandre to be able to get in the back line. With no flash on Scout will be a bit harder, but trying to once again do their due diligence with the vision.
Can the rookie in the top lane do this? He's got a Mega Gnar bar, level 15. Wayward is looking favored here, but Flandre also holding his own angle. He's been spotted out by a good boomerang. As Dragon now spawns, stares them in the face. Top Esports are waiting over the wall. They don't necessarily have to push this one, Lyric, but as the ward gets dropped down, EDG right now hovering outside of vision.
Oh, Scout has found the angle now, but
Top
Flandre's still
Esports,
pretty
it could
far
be
away.
a trap. He's going to be spotted out by a good ward, though. JackeyLove gets rid of the Banshee's Veil. Buying a bit of time, Knight's Wall is still available. EDG are just getting poked down bit by bit, as that's a good seismic shove onto Flandre. Jumping in is Wayward. Knight and Wayward, the solo lanes of Top Esports, have done a lot.
Flandre has TP, he's looking to back, and it looks like they still want to try and contest this fight. Wayward's Mega Gnar is going to slowly time
Scouts
out.
on the ward. A Glacial Path is coming in, but it's not taken. EDG have grouped all on their side. Flandre on the same angle. Weaver's Wall cuts them off. Viper ulti's over. Seismic shove. JackeyLove knocked into it. Is the smite going to come through? And it's Top Esports to get the 3rd Dragon. Glacial Path taken. Scout jumps on in. Tian ulti's early. In game 5, Flandre gets in the middle, but he's exhausted.
Oh,
Mark saves Knight, and Top Esports are turning it around. Viper in the middle, but he's dead against the world champions. Top Esports, our 1st seed, are doing it.
Top Esports are pushing down what EDG have built up from this early game. Everything there was Knight. The seismic shove and the threat from Wayward. He was doing such a great job kind of juggling that rage bar to scare EDG off. They chunk out Flandre and now going to be able to pick up a Baron.
Baron and the 3rd Dragon, they were behind early, Lyric. This 1st seed, who started off the series getting slapped in the face by our world champs, have now just bounced back massively with what could have been the most important team fight of the game.
And we can see there, Wayward using the ulti, damage coming down onto JackeyLove. I feel like the key part of them being able to get in this position and force Flandre out and use that TP was so massive, but Moonlight Vigil already thrown down. So many key things from EDG are gone. Scout might go in and Flandre follows up, but here, this is going to be a huge devour coming out from Mark to guarantee the safety of the rest of the team. And then Tian being able to be a disturbance on that back line. And once again, the seismic shove to be able to bring him down. Seriously, I feel like Knight, so huge in this fight. Wayward doing a ton. And then Mark, just like the Braum game, a bit of a silent MVP able to come through.
The members with the least experience, Lyric, that's what you're telling me. Mark and Wayward, the people that for Top Esports were additions in. Remember, Junjia last time they were at Worlds, Top Esports had 369. Wayward has come in, and now with the Anathema's chains, this 3-item Gnar is doing legwork. Now, Top Esports, Lyric, they had the Baron, but they're not so far in the gold lead where it feels like EDG are out of this series or out of moving to the semifinals themselves. I feel like this Baron push is going to be everything, as Scout's actually spotted on the top side of the map over a ward, and Top Esports are pushing it aggressively in bot.
And look at all their vision behind them as well. They're going to spot out Scout wherever he goes in this side of the jungle. So he's opening up a position to be collapsed on, even though he thinks he's the one doing the collapsing.
Yep.
It's going to come from a unique angle, but
Tian's
even
there.
Tian trying to spot him out for now.
And look, they're moving back as well. JJ going to try and slow them down, but it's only on Wayward. There's the Weaver's Wall. Scout's flank is turned back on him. It's a disaster as Tian chases after. All he needs is to kill Scout. And this guy is going to be doomed with the rest of his base following suit. The rest of top esports move into position.
Wayward steeping!
They want to kill him. Wayward wants to get revenge for last time. Throw up the emote, Wayward. The rookie in the top lane. Taking down a world champ. That's chat energy.
Wayward was subbed out in top esports last series of the regular season. Comes back in and showing up. Viper doing his best to try and find opportunities to halt the progress of TES. But with Mark right alongside JackeyLove, it isn't going to be possible just yet.
Our first team to lock in Worlds, top esports, that's what's on the line. If they win this series after what a slug it's been, top esports will be our first LPL confirmed team. With everyone watching here today, this could be a dream for top esports fans who have only had 1 year to celebrate, Lyric. That was 2020. And as we were saying, we thought top esports could reach higher potential, like what we're seeing here in this Game 5 with the insanity that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 minutes.
And now we get to this point, once again having souls up, 106 on the board at 30 minutes for JackeyLove. So having a nice bit of range under his belt to be able to get off this consistent damage. And, you know, even going back to Viper, you know, us being kind of surprised and confused about the Blade of the Rune King coming out earlier. My only guess is it could be like, you know, nicer one-item power spike. But now when he's on 3 items, not having that same opportunity to be on something like an IE or, you know, be at that full crit potential is definitely definitely not going to be what you want from Viper now. Oh,
has to be careful. I mean, that ward
scared.
placement, if top esports were in there, he would have been dead. Knight is waiting for a Weaver's Wall. EDG grouping up to the mid lane. There's a pillar. They're trying to all in on Wayward, but top esports are over the wall onto JJ. Range used well. JJ has to be careful not to throw the whole game away. Viper the same. Gale Force out. Lyric, you said the pick potential on TS was massive. There you go again.
Top esports doing such a good job of these creative plays, playing in fog of war, going outside of vision. And heck, right, we've been watching this whole game from EDG's point of view of them being in control as Wayward. I mean, Wayward, you've solo killed this guy. Okay, you almost solo killed this guy once. You don't need to be afraid of him.
Okay, Scout's actually going to get the roots out, but Wayward's going into Gnar now for the team fight. Meiko's caught out. Meiko's dead. Top esports now with the numbers advantage. Tian goes in. EDG have lost top laner too. They're doing it, Lyric. They're doing it. EDG, our world champions, are getting knocked down by the top esports. JJ's going to be next. Scout's up next. TES can feel the return to Worlds coming.
Top esports making the comeback in this series, bringing us to the Game 5, and now able to take down EDG after they've been on such a tear.
Only once before have we had Knight at Worlds. JackeyLove is a world champion. Mark and Wayward, fresh blood. Tian as well on FPX. Different rosters. We have Meiko alive, but we know top esports are ending here. Our first confirmed world seed. Top esports will be returning to the world stage for the LPL. counted out. They will always double down. And this organization, this team lyric, is going to represent us quite well.
Yeah, and like even barring individual performances, right? I love that TS knew going to those mid-game fights of like, hey, you know, we need to mark our flanks. We need to sweep all the vision behind us. We need to play into that tri-brush and keep our eyes there because we saw Scout. It looked like Scout would have that perfect angle. He was sitting in tri-brush. He goes, walks a little bit out. Oh, they're waiting for him. There's a ward there. Like they knew exactly what they had to think about. And then even going forward, right, when they were going for the bot lane push, Scout once again looking for a flank, complete vision control behind them. Again, marking their flanks and just not letting those avenues come through. TS, just seeing them understand like the win conditions of the enemy team, being able to play around those, but still have the individual performances, right? Knight had some great seismic shoves. We hit on Wayward, we hit on Tian, and also like again, Mark kind of having some of these great performances on supports that aren't that flashy, so they don't get talked about as much. But the Braum and the Tahm Kench games, especially today, great.
Oh man, I don't. Yeah, I can't really comprehend. I mean, the reason is because, you know, EDG's run was insane through RNG, through FPX. Like, again, how we started the series isn't how we ended it all. Top Esports, I think, you know, talking about the flanking angles, talking about the way they set up for the fights, like Knight's Weaver's Wall. Remember, we talked about it in the early game. We're like, oh, his Weaver's Wall in the bottom lane didn't really do much. But then we get to these fights, 3rd, 4th Dragon, and his angles, his separation of EDG. You look at the flip to get yourself into the World Championship. And what a performance. It's a 5-man, right? Our summer MVP, too, performs like that.
For a silver lining for EDG, right?
Please.
Like, they lose, but at least we're in double elim. They are not out of playoffs. They actually still could go on to win the LPL. Totally possible. And at least if you are them, you could look at this game and honestly be like, hey, this is a game we should have won. You go to the points in review, you take a look, you come back better next time. So, I mean, EDG are still a team that everyone needs to fear, like even including TES, if EDG can like make their way back up to a final run and these two teams meet again. So in my mind, overall solid performances coming out from both teams. I mean, this was a great series overall, and you could, right, I expect both of these teams to be at Worlds with the way that EDG has been performing. So would not be surprised to see this rematch in the finals.
Again, for EDG, as you said, low bracket, you know, worst case scenario regionals, right? Like they've got a lot of lifelines. EDG so far working their magic through